So it's March of 2010, and Apple engineer is celebrating something special. It's his 27th birthday. He's spending the evening at a local German bar. It's not too far from Apple's headquarters. His job at the company is a special one. He gets to do something that many Apple fans would love to do. He gets to field test the next generation iPhone, the iPhone 4. This is a big deal because Apple takes privacy and security very seriously. Prototypes are usually bolted to desks. Gadgets and computers are behind armored doors, and these doors have security locks with codes that change every few minutes. Very few Apple employees know exactly what they're working on, and those who test the most sensitive projects cover the devices with black cloaks. When the devices aren't covered, employees turn on a red warning light. This way, everyone knows to be especially careful. If Apple suspects a leak, they lock down the building. They search for the source, and Apple security escorts them off of the property. And that's because product leaks cost millions of dollars in marketing. Not only that, but Apple is very protective of its brand. They want to be able to control the release of Apple-related news. But today, the young engineer gets to take the iPhone prototype out into the wild. He's to use it as would any other iPhone user. This way, Apple knows how it performs in the real world. No one in the bar suspects that he's holding the iPhone 4 because its custom case makes it look like the iPhone 3. The night is going so well that he uses the phone to post a Facebook update. It reads, "I underestimated how good German beer is," shortly after he leaves the bar and goes home. As the other patrons continue to enjoy themselves, someone notices that a phone is sitting on a bar stool. 21-year-old Brian Hogan asks if anyone knows who the phone belongs to. No one does. Brian assumes that it must belong to the guy who was sitting beside him earlier that evening, and he waits for him to return. In the meantime, he plays with it. He tries to use the camera, but the device keeps crashing. He notices 2 barcodes and a sticker attached to the phone. He also notices 6 apps, one being Facebook. The owner of the iPhone hasn't come back, so Brian figures that he'll return it tomorrow. He goes home, and when he wakes up the next morning, the device is dead. Brian connects it to his computer, and the phone immediately deactivates. He's starting to realize that this iPhone is very odd. The exterior seems a little off. It has a forward-facing camera on the front, a feature that no other iPhone has. He opens the case and discovers that it's a decoy. Beneath the surface is a unique device, something he's never seen before. He decides to contact Apple, but he soon realizes that he won't be able to get the help he needs. No one is taking him seriously. He's promised that someone will call him soon, but no one ever does. Since Brian is unable to get in touch with the right person at Apple, he decides to reach out to a few blogs. There's a good chance that they'll want to know about what he believes is an iPhone prototype. Finally, he gets in touch with someone at Gizmodo, a popular tech blog with millions of readers. Brian was right. Gizmodo is very interested in what he has to say. In fact, they offer him $5,000 for the story and the phone, and they'll give him another $3,000 when they confirm that the story is real. Weeks later, Gizmodo is finally in possession of the iPhone prototype, but the question is it real? At first, they're not too sure. They're not able to get past the Apple logo screen, but after they examine the exterior and interior, there's no doubt that this is indeed the iPhone 4. They plan to return it to Apple, but not before they document everything about the device. And they don't miss one detail. They note that the phone has a front-facing video camera and a larger battery. The flash bulb is next to a bigger camera, and the screen is smaller. It also has a new industrial design that includes a ceramic back. Gizmodo takes pictures and a video of the device. They also find out who lost the phone, and they give him a call. The young engineer had returned to the bar and searched for the device, but to no avail. So he's not in very good spirits when speaking with Gizmodo. The publication expresses that they're interested in returning the phone. And on the same day, Gizmodo hits publish on their newest article entitled, "This is Apple's next iPhone." The post lays out everything they documented, including the images and video. The story of the Apple engineer who lost the iPhone prototype is on its way to becoming worldwide news. Within an hour of publishing the article, the phone rings at Gizmodo. The editor picks up and he hears the voice of Apple's founder, Steve Jobs. He wants his phone back. According to the editor, Jobs isn't demanding, he's asking. He's funny, charming even. I appreciate you had your fun with our phone, and I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at the sales guy who lost it. But we need the phone back because we can't let it fall into the wrong hands. Before he hangs up, Jobs asks one last question. What do you think of it? The Gizmodo editor's response, it's beautiful. Within the first 12 hours of publishing the post, Gizmodo racks up more than 3 million page views. Everyone is fascinated. It's not just because they're wondering what will happen to the engineer who lost the phone, even though they are. It's not just because they're wondering what will happen to the guy who sold the phone, even though they are. And it's not just because they're curious about the next generation iPhone, even though they are. It's because Apple's veil of secrecy has been lifted, even if only for a moment in time. Gizmodo's editor sends Jobs an email. They'll return the phone when Apple sends a formal letter requesting it back. There are some Gizmodo readers who aren't sure if the prototype is real, and if Apple puts it in writing, they can post the letter to their site, and this will quiet any doubts that people may have. It will also be good for Gizmodo's credibility and reputation. Apple sends a formal letter asking Gizmodo to return the device to its rightful owner, and Gizmodo returns the device. Jobs' advisors suggest that he let the matter slide, but from his perspective, things are not that simple. In his opinion, the prototype wasn't lost. Someone stole it. And on top of that, he feels like Gizmodo's email was a form of extortion. Apple decides to report the matter to the police, and a California task force responsible for investigating high-tech crimes orders a raid. The police visit the home of Gizmodo journalist Jason Chin. He's the author of the Apple article. They confiscate 3 of his laptops, external hard drives, and 2 servers. They also take a digital camera, an iPad, an iPhone, and a few other items. And this prompts as much controversy as the Apple article itself. Are the actions of Apple reasonable, or is the company's insistence on secrecy and control bordering arrogance? A few years later, Brian would take to Reddit to answer questions about the ordeal. He's asked if he regrets selling the iPhone, and Brian admits that he should have handled things differently. Short answer is yes, definitely. I also regret how I handled the situation from an early stage. I let it get completely out of my hands and into everyone else's. The courts allow Brian to keep the $5,000 that Gizmodo paid him, and it's a good thing for him because he needed it to pay for his expensive legal defense. He and a friend who helped him sell the phone managed to escape jail time. They're given a year of probation, 40 hours of community service, and have to pay $250 in restitution to Apple. According to California law, Brian is guilty of theft because he knew that the phone belonged to Apple when he sold it. Gizmodo and their journalist, Jason Chin, escape indictment, but Gizmodo's Apple press privileges are permanently revoked. And as for the young Apple engineer who lost the prototype, he continued to work at Apple until 2017. As scheduled, Apple releases the iPhone 4 3 months after the ordeal. As Jobs introduces the next generation device, he jokingly says,
"Stop me if you've already seen this."
If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and why not watch another one?